Yes,
Hello.
again. Look at you. This
Girl.
is Marcelo.
Hey, Marcelo, how are you?
Good.
And you're so happy.
Yes, this brother right here is a very happy disposition type of guy.
We need that. We need that.
Indeed. He's obsessed with my moles. There's a mole that he particularly likes. I'm like, maybe we'll be a dermatologist when we get older.
Absolutely. Or just appreciate the woman's body, right?
That's right. Exactly. No, this brother right here definitely appreciates the body.
Okay, so for everybody in the Moms Winning community, if this is Cynthia, we are having an intimate conversation with my girlfriend, Tina Pacione-Zayas, who is the bomb, like that, okay? Has a huge timeline of accomplishments, but what is most exciting in this moment is that she's about to be a future state senator in Illinois, which is like right? Like it's a super exciting moment. And I've been trying to talk to Tina. We've been trying to connect for like 400 years since I moved back to Chicago. So no, but you know, God's timing is perfect. And so this moment is now. I'm bringing this conversation to us as moms because Tina is a mother of two. So she is holding it down. She is still on her voyage of serving in her life, on her kind of like mission, on her ministry. And so I want to just kind of dig in. And so that's why we're here, right? To use our platform to share with others and empower moms and stuff like that. So first and foremost, let's get back to what we almost jumped into.
Oh, yes.
I was telling Tina, I'm kind of super hype right now. I'm trying to pick out the right song to like play. Mary J. Blige comes into my mind, you know, some other things. But to just like, I said, Tina, tell me like some of the people in your circle, they're not like, you know, hey, great job, you know, but they're like, what? We're about to be in the city. Like that type of stuff.
Like fire. Everybody's like,
so what are the reactions from your people, from your circle about you being future senator?
yeah, so there's a lot of folks that are just really charged. You know, I think about when I was a kid, my dad called me electricity because I was just in constant motion and movement and all of that. And I feel that energy from people, very excited. But it's funny because I'm just kind of like, man, I feel like I'm gearing up for war, dude. Like it's about to be on and popping. And I've been saying like, I don't know what I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to also be grounded in that. Like I have a whole sense and I've been able to kind of rock my world in certain ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm going into a space that I'm somewhat familiar with. I've been in spaces but I've been in a different role as an advocate, as somebody who informs people about why they should be making decisions respected to policy that's anchored in research, that's anchored in values and community and people. And now I'm going to be stepping into that role if afforded. You know, it's not a done deal. I don't want to, like a good Caribbean, I'm like, I don't want to jinx it.
Right, exactly.
But if afforded, you know, I know that there's going to be a lot of information that I'm going to be privy to and a lot of different scenarios that I'm going to have to learn how to navigate. And that's what I'm just kind of like, man, this is a whole different dimension of doing the work. And so that's why I'm like, it's not a party, y'all. It's a whole nother skill set.
Yeah,
it's like, man, I gotta work out. I gotta work out this particular muscle, right? You know, like when working out is good for you, but you're kind of like, dang, I gotta do that again.
Right. You're lazy to get there and it hurts when you get there, right? Exactly. So I know Tina from U of I. We went there together. I know that you got your master's. Oh shoot, and high school too, girl.
We met in high school first.
Oh my gosh,
computer class, typing class.
100%. Look, my kids are still impressed with my skills. Like typing. They're like, you type so fast, and I'm like, girl, I can teach you. But you got your master's and doctorate in education, right? And then after that, was it in LASE and then CPS or?
Okay, So after undergrad, I worked. I came back to Chicago. I worked for a nonprofit, the International Latino Cultural Center. I worked in development. I had to raise money. Never
Raise my
did that before. Write
Wait,
some grants.
a completely different world. Jenny, by the way, said should have been a dolphin. Hashtag, hashtag. That's right, Jenny Curtis.
Exactly. So I had to did that for a year while I was applying to graduate school. Went to graduate school, just thinking I was going to do the master's. Somebody gave me the tip. They were like, "Say you'll do the doctorate, so you get more money." And I was like, "Bet, let's go, let's go."
There
So
are angels out there who give us tips.
right? You've got to thank those people. And I kept on saying it, and then they kept on giving me more money. And so I was like, well, I guess I got to finish this doctorate up, you know? So went down that path, but also knew I was not going to be a professor or faculty member immediately upon graduating. So I thought it was really important to get ground experience. And so I found my way back to Chicago, although I was still a student at U of I in Urbana. This was before, the remote learning we know about. I used to call it learning via satellite. Um,
Also e-learning, okay?
right, also e-learning. And so there was a program where I could still be a student at U of I and take classes at University of Illinois, Chicago. And it count towards U of I. And then in the graduate school, like once you finish your coursework, you're just doing research. So I was doing my research. It was based in Chicago, and I made sure that I kind of just made my rounds. It had been a minute since I got plugged back into Chicago. I don't know if you remember Dave Stovall from U of I.
Yes. He's still my brother. He texted me this week, was like, "I'm praying for you." I'm like, I need it. Yes, he's
exactly.
all connected.
No, I said, Dave, hook me up, like introduce me to people. I want to do the work. I don't want to come into this work overqualified, underexperienced. So he got me plugged into different groups. And I found my way to Enlace and spent 4 years there while I was finishing up my doctorate. And it was an absolutely amazing experience. And then from there, I got an opportunity to work back in my hood at Roberto Clemente Community Academy, where our beloved Teresita Ayala graduated from, my husband, David, a lot of my family members and friends. So spent some time working in that specific schooling space to build peace and to build a quote unquote culture of calm. That was the name of the initiative.
Right.
And then a couple years later, I had an opportunity to get into the policy space. And that's where I really got immersed with the Latino Policy Forum, doing their education agenda focused on early childhood. And then that led me to Erickson Institute, where I'm currently at, which is a graduate school focused on child development. And I specifically lead the policy and leadership work. So that's the professional journey. But it's been one, and it's been a great ride, and I just let it I'm riding the wave.
So I feel like everything you just said is so impressive. Tell me, in this trajectory, when you look back over, because this is a moment, I think, regardless of how the chips fall, you see how I was already manifesting for you. To be brave enough to be in these moments and to claim your space in these spaces. Come on. Especially both of us, I came from Humboldt Park as well, but it's like, even going into my first econ class, I was like,
yeah, oh my God.
Oh my head. We don't talk like this. I don't know what you're talking, going into your first development role, brave new space, feeling like a fish out of water, I'm sure. When you think back over it, what helped you to kind of move this way bravely?
I really have to give credit, acknowledgement, praise to community, to my family, for really grounding me in understanding that, I always reference the Zulu phrase, Ubuntu, I am because we are, right? That concept of social responsibility, that idea of, my parents met at the Logan Square Boys and Girls Club. They were both after school instructors. My mom did photography. My dad was running a gym. They met, they fell in love. They had me. I was the only child. And I grew up in the club. That was my context. That, you know, the club was my family. Like, to the point, like, when I was in school, the bus would drop me off at the club, pick me up at the Boys and Girls Club. And so it was really being in that space where it was, you really just understood the concept of extended family, of community, of how my future is intertwined with yours, my present, the interdependence. And having that grounding of being rooted, so that you know where you come from, you know what you're representing, you know what's at stake, you know people, the struggle, you know that when you are afforded an opportunity to lead and to speak, you have got like 3,000 heads behind you, right? It's really just about that, and taking that wherever you go. And then the new experiences that you collect, you bring them with you. And I think when you just are when you're able to be your authentic self, nobody can deny that. And in fact, it becomes contagious. It gives permission to others to shine their light because you're shining your light. But I do want to acknowledge that I want to acknowledge privilege that I have, because both of my parents were college educated. Even though my dad, you know, he came from Puerto Rico when he was 4, lived in the projects. You know, my mom is first generation. She's Italian. My dad is Puerto Rican. I know that there's certain privileges that come with those particular sets of conditions. Therefore, that's why I feel like I have the responsibility. I know me looking the way that I look, right? People can say, oh, she's white passing, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Guess what? So when I show up to the table, I'm about to blow up the spot. I'm about to disrupt.
Listen.
Because I know that if I present it in a different way, I'd get a different reaction. And that's why I have to push the envelope when I have it. So it's been those opportunities that have set me up to really just come in and do what I need, and also make space for everyone else.
That's right.
And fight for that.
That's right. So look, I'm taking notes on the side. Hey, Sheriff, what's going on, girl? That's my sister. I heard you say, you know, mentorship, reaching out to Stove, getting connected, people give you tips, be open to it. I love this piece about community, and your parents are the bomb. If you don't know her parents, especially your father, I've never met your mom, but your father is like, you know, community, belonging, identity. These are things, especially if we have our own children now, or even in the youth development space, belonging, identity is really important, especially in this world, which when you look around doesn't necessarily look like you, doesn't advocate for you all the time. So that piece is super dope. I'm realizing that how your parents raised you has a lot to do with how you show up and express yourself in these spaces when you become an adult, especially the work that you're doing in Chicago, in the United States. Very important work. I want to say, let me see. Yeah, her parents are the best, Jenny said. Yes. So I remember even from U of I you worked at La Casa?
I did, right? Yeah. As soon as I got there, I was like,
you already knew.
Where are my people? I mean, actually, I don't know if you felt this way, but like it was the first time I was in a predominantly white institution.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is weird.
Very different.
Because coming from Chicago public schools, and, you know, we went to Whitney Young, which was incredibly diverse, not only racially and ethnically, but also economically.
Yeah.
The same for elementary school. So like coming to U of I, and it's this, you know, predominantly white institution, you're in class spaces where, you know, you're the only one, not only person of color, but like from Chicago. I remember being in speech comm. It was my first semester. And the topic was about HIV AIDS. And this was like, let me see, this was 1996 was my first year. And I remember there was a student in the class. He was like, I don't understand. What's the big deal with HIV AIDS? And I don't know if you remember, Cynthia, I used to be a part of the Stop AIDS Club at Whitney Young. And I was an HIV educator in the neighborhood, you know, Katie Lubin and Jenny Knows Katie.
Yes.
You know, we used to go to like social events and pass out condoms and talk about, you know, safer sex and all of that. And I remember this kid was like, what's the problem? Like HIV/AIDS, like whose problem is that? And I was like, where are you from? And he said someplace I did not recognize. I was like, oh, okay, next topic. You don't really understand, so let's move on. But, and he was so offended. And yes, that was rude. It wasn't very kind. I didn't make it a teachable moment. But it was just this kind of wake up call. You're in a very different setting and context. And I think what I personally appreciated about U of I is that even though it was incredibly segregated, we had such a great unity between the Black and Brown community. I mean, it was just such a great space to be in and really build with each other. And so that's what I thoroughly appreciate at U of I. And La Casa was the bomb, and the Black House was the bomb. It was just bomb.
Absolutely. Such good times. If you have any questions, just write them in the comments and we'll be sure to bring them up. What does Tina tell herself when she's in those moments where doubt creeps in? Like in these new spaces, maybe advocating over the table with some big shots. You know, when you get to those moments where you might be like, okay, got that little feeling in my stomach. This is my heart's beating a little fast. What does Tina tell herself to get through those moments?
I think about what the conditions and circumstances were for our ancestors in order for us to be where we're at today, and how much harder it had to be, and how much more braver they had to be, and how much many of them are not with us as a result and sacrificed their lives. I think about like if I compare it in that way, I am relatively in a much better place, and I better show up because they didn't do all that work for me to just, you know, sit back and cower and be in my feelings. I have to also make some moves. I don't know if you remember too from U of I, one of our friends, Coleman Evans, he used to say, brave girls go to heaven, or no, good girls go to heaven, brave girls go wherever they want.
I love that and cannot wait to tell him that. I love that. I think I'm joining his book club next month.
Yes.
That'll be fun. That's good, especially as we raise young girls. So you have a boy and a girl, right?
I do.
Talk to me a little bit about becoming a mom on your trajectory of being in new brave spaces and continuing to be a voice and an advocate for others, which I'm going to assume means that you are in these spaces of bravery a lot, right? So, but at the same time, so then you're coming home and you're like, oh, here I am, Mom. How has that management been? Like, what have been your gains? Maybe as a human being, and what have been the pains?
I think, you know, parenting for me is political. And it has been, I think, one of the best experiences I could have never imagined, because I was sort of like ambivalent about having children, because I just thought of myself as, you know, this kind of, you know, person of the world. And yes, if I have children, great. If I don't, I can still, you know, commune and be in community and so on and so forth. And so then I had this amazing experience before, when I was working at the high school. A couple incidents like really just struck me. One was I was doing a peace circle training, because, you know, when I was working at Clemente, I was doing peace building work, and I went through a 5-day peace circle training. And literally we were in a peace circle for 5 straight days. It was like we were there from like 9 to 4 doing kind of the circle exercise, and then go home and then come back and continue the dialogue. And there was a member of our circle, an elder, and he had 10 kids. And he said like the most profound thing about raising children, where he said, you know, young people are always trying to like harness and hold on to their youth. And they think that, you know, by growing up, they're going to lose their youth. He's like, but the one thing I learned about having children is that it actually gives you a window back into your youth.
It
You
does.
get to
Yeah.
re-experience life and rediscover and only, have new fresh eyes on things. And that's your way to stay young. And I was just like, damn, I never thought about that, because you're at that age where you're like, oh, I'm making some, adult money. I gotta
Right.
be in the club. I gotta have
Okay.
the precious gear, all of that. And I was just like, wow, that was deep. So fast forward, in having children, it has totally felt that way in terms of the idea of being able to like re-experience your childhood, or accompany your children on their childhood. It gives you permission to access being a child again, being imaginative, suspending disbelief, all of those things. And but then also like exploring, how do you really start a radical education from birth,
Yeah.
like developing that consciousness, and questioning, and also knowing that that's going to get turned on you at some times.
Yeah.
And so it's just really been an honor to have the privilege to parent your own children, because you may mentor other people's children, but really to have that, and like I said, to have that mirror, because
Mhm.
sometimes I mean, I love them, but sometimes you're like, man, I'm experiencing myself. Jesus.
100%. 100%. You really want to grow, have some kids. Okay.
Yes, yes. So I mean, but it's been a beautiful thing, and it's great, to have a partner that also indulges in the same kind of, parenting approach. We have different styles, obviously, but like I think we're both all in on that piece, and I feel like it gives me additional insight when I'm doing the advocacy work, and particularly in child development. I've had to navigate some spaces with my children. There's been instances like, with my son, we had to go through the process of getting him evaluated for speech therapy and for occupational therapy, and having to navigate the public services, because there are public services such as early intervention for when a parent is concerned about their child's development, and having to
Yeah.
go through the process of assessment and making sure that they have the resources so that they can get what they need to, develop to their greatest potential. And me being an early childhood advocate, having a doctoral degree and struggling to navigate that process, and knowing like, dang, if I'm struggling,
Exactly. Us regular folks, we need help.
seriously. So it gives an extra impetus. There was an incident too one time with my daughter when she was in preschool. This incident there with another student that really could, if they were older, it would have been considered sexual harassment. And
Wow.
really having to name that for the school and create a teachable
Wow.
moment for the school to say, look, if we really want to eradicate sexism and violence against genders that are considered, at a lower rung, we got to name this head on. We got to teach our children how to respect their bodies themselves, to be okay to name when somebody's coming for you, that you are safe, you're going to be supported, but also to teach those that are struggling with that. So
Yeah.
like it's been such an instructive experience, doing that type of work in my very personal space plus in the professional. So I mean, it's been pretty awesome. And I love, like I said, I'm at the point like my kids' teachers are like, you got some young adults already, and they're 8 and 5.
Okay.
They talk, I mean, we have some interesting conversations. It's hilarious.
I bet. That's what I'm thinking about right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, your kids are probably already peace circle leaders and stuff like that at their young age.
Well, they can name their feelings for sure, and I definitely appreciate that. And even I'll tell you a story. So for Thanksgiving, we were talking that week, like, so what what do you guys think? It's just going to be us four. What do we do for Thanksgiving for food? And my son, kindergartner, he's like, don't you mean thanks taking? And I'm like, what you know about that? And he was like, or my daughter was like, she was like, yeah, I taught him. And I was like, what? Because I had just had that conversation with her a few days before, where we were talking about the concept of Thanksgiving. We were talking about, how we need to look at it as a national day of mourning and what happened with indigenous communities. And she was like kind of admonishing me, like, wait, you're just telling me about this now? How come you didn't and I was like, well, I wanted to have a more in-depth conversation with you. And she was like, oh, okay, well then we can't really tell Marcelo. We'll tell him later. And I said, no, it's actually your job to teach him, because you all are going to be able to relate on the same level. And so it was just awesome to get that to come back to me in that, kind of organic conversation. So it's been great, I have to say.
I love it. I love it. It sounds like you're equipping them for the future, for real, for real.
Yes.
What do you do when you feel on your most overwhelmed days? So like when you're trying to balance it all, because you're taking on some real topics here, right? In our society. And at the same time, having an amazing home, having a partner, having a family, like, your parents and stuff like that. On your most exhausted days as like a working mom, what do you tell yourself? What do you do to preserve yourself? Thank you.
I think it's not going to always be as peaceful navigating that feeling. And so I think it's important to honor, like that's what I do, is I honor that I'm feeling overwhelmed. And so what that may present is like, I just need to vent and I need to just pop off and like go out. Like David always talks about your adrenals. They're like up to here.
What is it? Your drills?
Adrenals, the adrenal gland.
Adrenals, yes.
He's like, you wake up charged. And so sometimes it's just having to like get that energy out.
Yes.
Like, and whether it's analysis, whether it's just venting, whether it's what. And I think, we've been together long enough. He knows, don't try to solve my problems. Just listen, maybe like engage, maybe like get amped up with me.
Right. Exactly.
Those types of things. But I'll say, so that's, sometimes you got to go through that process where you just kind of got to release that energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the restorative tip, there's an app I really enjoy. Like if I want to do some guided meditation, it's called Liberate. And it's an app, a meditation app made by and for people of color.
Wow.
So, everybody on there identifies as Black, Indigenous, Latino, people of color. Because sometimes, in that like mindfulness space, it can be very white and it can be very affluent. And I really do appreciate, having this other lens and this angle. The other thing I think I've learned more so recently, I think physical activity is incredibly important on the stress tip, man. Like
100%.
Dude,
100%.
Like, just go take a walk, go get some fresh air. It will change your world perspective. Something as basic as that. And I mean, especially because we're in COVID, like I don't personally feel comfortable going to like the Y anymore. So it's so important to get out, to move your body, so that you can do that. I also like this is, and Davi's gonna crack up. I like doing like domestics. Like I'm good with washing dishes, cleaning the bathroom, folding the clothes. Do I always do it? That's a whole nother thing. But it's like you feel accomplished when you clean the kitchen, when you've cleaned the bathroom, you put away the clothes, you meal planned, you got that stuff going. And then the other thing too, I think, is crafting or like doing something creative, like with the kids, right? Because they got those like adult coloring books,
Yeah.
or like, or maybe you're doing like a science project with the kids, like we're gonna make little homemade volcano or something to just kind of like, again, focus you, get you in that child mind state,
Mm-hmm.
at, and or even just imaginative play with them, like
Yeah.
little figurines and acting things out or whatever. I love when I make the time for that. I like kind of getting into that space too.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Two more questions, and then I'm going to let you get to your family. Um, when you think about your daily habits, we've kind of touched this already, like whether it's a walk, whether it's meditating, any other like healthy habits you think you have like daily that kind of keep you running, because Moms Winning is really about just sharing tools and tips, right? And every time
Mm-hmm.
I do a workshop, I always say the wisdom is in this room. Like, don't
Yeah.
expect me to come in and just like invent stuff that we already don't have, right, amongst us. It's really creating a space to transfer the best practices among us, right? So what keeps you kind of fueled on a daily to get you through, like day to day, week to week, month to month?
I think the importance of the relationships that
Mm,
you maintain, right? Because we are social creatures by nature, and
mm,
I think it's important to make sure that the individuals that who know you, like, you don't have to put the makeup on, you could just be
yeah,
you, feet up or whatever. I think it's really important to continue to strengthen those connections, to be there, to show up for each other,
yeah,
even if it's not like super deep talk, because you got some friends that you go deep into politics, you got some friends like you, like, oh, what's the latest with the Netflix show you watching or whatever.
yeah,
um, or you trade little tips and stories here and there. I think the social connections are incredibly important. That's what's going to get us through, especially during these times when we are asked to be physically distant, and so we're going to have to continue to figure out ways to remain socially connected.
yeah,
I think the other thing too, again, not only on the physical tip, what you eat, what you put into your body, that is your medicine.
yeah,
And so are you consuming food that makes you feel good? Now, does that always mean that it's like the cleanest, the healthiest? No, I mean, we can't always be like strict and measured, but we do have to put food in that fuels your body. And I think especially as you get older, that becomes so much more important, because your body uses the nutrients in different ways. And so I think those are really important things, along with, like I said, staying grounded, connecting with your children, and whatnot, getting the physical activity. All of that stuff just comes together, because it's being a mom, being a woman who juggles so many different things. You have to find ways to fill your cup, you have to find ways to keep it going. Life isn't just about the rat race and the struggle. It is about the joy and the beauty, and the glory. And so how can you invite that in, and how can you really just be a tool of love?
yeah. I love this. I love this so much. Is my video delayed?
A
Can you
touch.
hear me okay?
I mean, maybe mine is too.
No, I mean it just for a second, a couple minutes ago, but it was fine. As long as we can hear the
Yeah.
conversation, it's all good. So how did we get to here? Did you in the past like say, hey, one day if I have this opportunity, I'd love to run for senator, and here's why, and here's kind of what I do with it.
Honestly, definitely not a part of the plan or the trajectory. But I've never been one of those people that I said, I've never been one like, I have to do this, right?
Right.
I want to be this position. The last time I interviewed for a job, my boss asked you, so like, what's your long term? And I said, I can tell you the conditions I
Yes.
like to work in, the type of people I like to be in community with and to do the work. And as long as I have creative license and I can, make some decisions, I can advance the bigger picture work around justice, around equity, around liberation, I'm good. It doesn't
Right.
matter what I'm doing. It really doesn't matter.
Right. Right.
Everything else is going to fall into place. So, for me, as long as those things are in place, I'm okay. And so with this particular opportunity, I had a few people coming to me saying, why don't you consider it? And what, would you think about it? And I did think about it, and I went back and forth and back and forth. And I mean, it also helped that the current senator was like, I really
Right.
want you to do
Yeah,
this.
absolutely.
And I, have decided to take that leap to see, I've, for the past 8 years, I've been working in policy as an advocate.
Yep.
I have trained elected officials
Yep.
to be anchored in science around child development, to understand their social responsibility to center children and families. And so I'm also challenging myself to see what that's actually like to be in their shoes. What kinds of things come your way that you think you are just so set on your convictions, but it might make you kind of question or look at things in a different perspective. And so I really see this as an opportunity to gain another lens in the work. And as long as I feel that I can be useful and effective in it, I, will be in it. And also something really big is I want to create opportunities to invite people into it, because too often in our political process and in elected life, it becomes very insular, and it's insiders who get access to information, and the people have a certain, it's kind of defined. You can only participate in this way.
Right.
And I've been really big about how do we open up that process? How do we, to your point, the wisdom is in the room. The people closest to the problem usually have the best solutions to it. And
Yeah.
how can we create space where that's our typical go-to, instead of just saying, oh no, just these people can respond to the questions and the problem, instead of just bringing it to the ground and saying, okay, how do we solve for this? Let's figure out how we put our heads together. What resources do we need? What's the campaign to get this going? And so in my role, I mean, I've had a little bit of a taste being an Illinois State Board of Education member.
Right.
As an appointee, you're not elected, but I treated it as though I was, in that I felt very deeply that I needed to create processes, again, that invite people in. So I hold a virtual town hall before every single board meeting. And in that virtual, and I did this well before COVID. Like, I did it as soon as I got, because I was representing the entire state. And I basically would call people in to do a Zoom meeting. I had a list of about 250 stakeholders representing teachers and administrators and parents and students, and saying, okay, I need to hear from you all. I want my accountability to you is to give you a summary of what happened at the last meeting. And then let's go through the board packet together. And I want to crowdsource my questions, because I have questions about what I'm being asked to make decisions on, but I want to hear directly from you, what questions should I ask on your behalf? And then I also push the board to make these meetings more public. We live stream them now. We post the videos afterwards. They didn't used to do that. They used to just audio record them, and then there'd be no posting. And I'm like, who does that? So,
Right.
so really just creating avenues. And I was so proud. We had a board meeting today. And because the last one was super intense, I had to pop off. And this time I didn't have to say much, because the community showed up. We're in the middle of debating these standardized tests right now, and if we should be proceeding in the pandemic. And we had an amazing amazing representation from the community that really gave their perspective about concerns. So I didn't need to say anything. When the people speak, I'm quiet. I'm good. And so I think it's just, I want to approach this role in a similar way to create avenues to bring people in, because this is the people's work. And how can we continue to open that up? And so, and I also think it's important for people to see others who look like them, who have had similar experiences in these particular positions, to be able to also see themselves to be in this role. I always used to tell the students at the State Board of Education, because we have a student advisory council, I need y'all to take me out of this job. I'm good. Like, one of y'all to take my seat, because I'm not going to be here forever.
Right. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm so inspired to hear from you, just generally, but certainly right now in this moment, especially as you head on into this next chapter. It's super inspiring just to hear you, the way you see it, and how it's really work focused, kind of like, or mission driven, as they say, kind of like, what is the work? What do you feel is like your gift and talent that you're supposed to be giving to the world or assisting the world in? And if you just follow that, regardless of the job or company that is attached to it, what have you, just get into the right spaces that you're supposed to be in, to use your voice, to use your talent, to use your gifts, right? And help others along the way. I think we're socialized to kind of think about it the other way, right? Like, get that job, that one that says director, or, you know, six figures, you know, but those were the generations behind us too, a little bit, right? They were just working off of what they knew too. So super inspired. Any final words that you would give to maybe moms who are maybe aligning their job with their passion, or even thinking about politics, or getting into, you know, what I'll call brave spaces with a little butterfly in their tummy doing it? What kind of words of encouragement do you have for moms?
I mean, I just really think women are the most powerful beings on the planet, period, the end. There's no argument around that. And I think we have to own that. And I think we have to just center ourselves in that. The fact that, you know, we give life, we bear children, we not only host, you know, some of us nurse, like all of that. And all that nurturing, and even if you don't have your own children, because women just hold the world together. Like, I don't even bother arguing with anybody about that, because I'm just like, I'm sorry, like, you about to get shut down. Like, I always say, like, every once in a while when David gets, I was like, I'm sorry, 2 humans exited my body.
100%.
And then they spent, each one of them, another couple years taking from my breast. Like, I'm sorry, there's no argument. Bye, boy, bye.
Exactly. 100%. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I level set real quick sometimes with people in conversations, like, let's pause for a second. Let me remind you, only one of us is doing it like this, okay?
So I mean, I think that women just make the world go round, and that's what we've got to always stand in. And it doesn't matter what you do in life. The fact that you are here, you have done this, you are giving, you are Mother Earth. And that's the other thing. We're so much more connected to the planet. I mean, it's just, I'm good. I'm so glad I was a woman in this life. Woo.
Yes. Look, and for all the moms who have watched this, who will watch it in the future, get hype. Get hype about yourself right now, okay?
Exactly.
Take permission. You have permission. Stand in your authority, all right? You are the fire. So let's remember that, and let's stand in it. Tina, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much for your time, energy, and wisdom tonight. I truly appreciate it. This is a very inspiring conversation. Jenny says she's so proud of us. Thanks, Jenny. And then my cousin Joanne said, amen, God bless, good job.
Well, thank you. Thank you for creating this space. Thank you for holding this space. for inviting other women into the space. It's like you two have really done an amazing job in harnessing our power, our contributions, and showing up for each other. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you are so welcome. Thanks for saying that. If we can be of service to you in the future, please just let us know. We are here for you. We got you.
Thank you.
Okay, you have a good night. Give everybody my love.
I will. And here comes another one.
Hey, is that the other one?
This is Catalina.
Hey, Catalina.
Ugly sweater. It was ugly sweater day.
I love it. I love it. I love her little face.
You say hi, Cynthia. Hi.
Hi. How are you today?
I'm good.
I'm good. Did you already have dinner?
Yes, I already did.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was really good.
It was delicious.
What was it?
Spaghetti.
Oh, does somebody have like a special recipe going on in this house?
We do. I taught David everything. No. We battle each other. He's really good.
I love it. I love it. And just a fun fact, Tina and her husband David have been together for like 124 years.
124 years. I love it.
Look, they have been together since college. They are like such role models. They're like relationship goals, 100%. Relationship goals. And back in the day, even in college, I was like, you know what? You guys are like Jada and Will, just, you know, Latino. That's it. But y'all them. It's got that's the whole power vibe I get from you all. But send him my love. Be blessed. Let me know if you need anything. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a wonderful, great spending time with you.
You too. Bye.